Over the last few nights of June, columns of black smoke rose over the port of St. Petersburg, Russia. Explosions echoed near oil terminals and naval facilities in Kronstadt, while residents were instructed to stay in their homes. What seemed to be just another routine night in Russia's second-largest city turned into a scene of maximum alert. Exactly during the final days of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, an event that the Kremlin uses to project an image of normality and economic power. These attacks marked the beginning of a series of long-range Ukrainian operations, which in the following weeks extended for hundreds of kilometers inside Russian territory and reached the occupied Crimean Peninsula. In the attacks in St. Petersburg alone, Ukrainian drones hit the city's oil terminal and the Kronstadt naval base. Satellite images confirm this significant damage, with tanks on fire and a Boyki corvette burning inside a dry dock. At the time, the Russian Ministry of Defense reported intercepting more than 140 drones just in the Leningrad region, calling the attack unprecedented. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that the targets included Russian Navy arsenals and the Kronstadt base itself. The escalation continued toward the heart of Russia. In the week of June 17th to 18th, Kyiv carried out the largest drone attack against the Moscow region since the start of the full-scale war. The president of the Russian Ministry of Defense reported the downing of nearly 200 drones. Several hit Moscow's largest oil refinery, located in the Kaputinia district, about 15 kilometers from the Kremlin. Images showed intense fires, tanks exploding, and a reservoir lid being thrown hundreds of meters into the air. Flights were suspended at the capital's 4 international airports. And for the second time in just a few days, the same refinery was hit, worsening previous damage to oil processing units. These numbers reveal a qualitative change in Ukrainian capability. The accelerated production of long-range drones, combined with swarm tactics, allows for volume attacks that overwhelm Russian air defense systems, which are often spread out over a vast territory. The targets were not chosen by chance. The energy and fuel facilities directly affect the Russian war economy and the logistical supply to the troops. At the same time, they strike at the official narrative that the conflict remains distant from the daily lives of Russian citizens. Occupied Crimea has become the most consistent focus of this campaign. Ukrainian drones have systematically attacked road and rail bridges connecting the peninsula to the occupied Ukrainian mainland, such as Renichesk, Shungar, and Armyansk, in addition to the R-280 highway known as Novorossiya. If you want access to full analyses with exclusive content like videos, shorts, and live streams that aren't released publicly here, become a channel member for just 7 Rs a month. Fuel convoys were hit, oil and gas depots were set on fire, and electrical substations were damaged. The practical result appeared quickly. Gas stations ran out of fuel, and the authorities banned the sale of fuel to regular drivers as the crisis intensified. Power outages became frequent, as in Sevastopol and other cities, affecting water pumps and leaving up to half of the peninsula without electricity at times. The peninsula, which Putin considers a central achievement of his government since 2014, and the main base of the Black Sea Fleet, saw its summer routine, the main source of income for many residents, collapse. Thousands of cars lined up to cross the Kerch Bridge toward the Russian mainland. The only direct land connection to the Russian mainland also began operating under restrictions, with heavy traffic and fuel often diverted to slower and more vulnerable ferries. On the night of June 25th to 26th alone, one of the largest barrages of drones in the war hit occupied Crimea and about a dozen other regions of Russia. The Russian Ministry of Defense claimed to have intercepted 660 Ukrainian drones during the night, as well as more than 46 the following morning. Although details about specific damages were not officially released, the cumulative effects of the previous weeks were already visible, such as fuel shortages, energy instability, and growing anxiety among the population. It was in this context that the communication with the "and that arrested." Who came before Kirsch? What should Kirsch do? Was the first government arrested? Kirsch, do this. Kirsch arrested. A step below a federal emergency, it gives local authorities extra powers to quickly mobilize resources and streamline more bureaucratic processes. Akasev himself emphasized that there would be no restrictions on movement or curfew for the population. Looking for Kirsch? Do this. Even so, the decision exposes the seriousness of the situation. In a region that the Kremlin presents as an integral and secure part of Russia, the authorities were forced to adopt response mechanisms, usually associated with natural disasters or direct conflicts. The Ukrainian attacks in Crimea aim to logistically isolate the peninsula by damaging bridges, roads, and fuel depots, which bypasses Kyiv, further hinders the flow of supplies to Russian forces in southern Ukraine and to the Sevastopol naval base itself. The Black Sea Fleet, already weakened by previous losses, now faces additional challenges of maintenance and resupply in increasingly exposed territory. For Ukraine, these strikes reinforce the confidence that it can project power far beyond the front line, even without air superiority or long-range ballistic missiles. The video doesn't end here, but to get full access to this analysis, do what our members are supposed to do. Just become an exclusive member here on the channel for only 7 Rs and 99 cents per month. And just click the join button. Leave your analysis in the comments about how these attacks might influence Putin's next moves. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any videos.